Dear colleagues, welcome to the LGMA monthly webinar. Uh, this is the February edition. We will allow one more minute for all the colleagues to settle down before starting. Uh, Thanks for your patience. I will just stop sharing momentarily. Um, add reflected back um, shortly. Okay, I think we are there. We can now, we have reached a saturation of our participants of our webinar attendees. And now, yes, in the starting screen sharing. Um, and I guess now we're there. So, colleagues, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. My name is Yunus Arikan. I'm the Director of Global Advocacy at ICLE, Local Governments for Sustainability. And I am addressing you in my capacity as the focal point of the local government and municipal authorities constituency to the UNFCCC as well. This is a monthly webinar of our constituency. This is held in every month in two slots, one for the Western Hemisphere and one for the Eastern Hemisphere. And today uh, we will have an agenda that we are more or less keeping stable, but updating according to the agenda evolved since the last one we have. Um, so our agenda is the basic introduction to LGMA background. We will slightly refresh ourselves with the outcomes from COP28. We would not want to dig in too much of our engagement, but it would always be good to remember it. Therefore, we would like to spend more of our time in the agenda towards COP29. And my colleagues, Ingrid and Ivana, will try to join us from Samarkand, where currently they're attending the Convention on Migratory Species, especially to share with us their updates on diverse agendas. We usually follow the presentations. Um, Time to time, we have guests, and we recommend you to insert type your chat questions or comments in the chat box if needed. We could also allow you to or invite you to engage at the moment of the agenda. For today's session, I also would like to encourage particularly our colleagues leading our works on the working groups, which will be a majority of our discussion today. This session is also recorded. It is webcasted. It is uploaded into ICLE's LGMA YouTube channel, and you will receive the link to the presentation later on as well. We are usually having a group familiar with the processes, but every session we also have newcomers, so I want to make sure that we are on the same page as much as possible. But in order to make effective use of our time, I will try to go into the priorities as much as possible. So if there's anything missing or if we have gone too fast, feel free to address it so that we can come back to these topics again. Basically, who are we? We are the abbreviation LGMA, but in practical terms, we are the voice of subnational cities, towns, regions, the UN climate negotiations or process. Since '95, we are one of the first three constituencies alongside with business and environmental groups. So we are engaged with the negotiations, action agenda. We collaborate with the presidencies in setting the agenda of the conference of parties, and we collaborate with the friends of multi-level action, because at the end of the UNFCCC process, it is the parties that are putting the decisions on the table or even revisions to the negotiation text. So we have to collaborate with them, but we also work with them, especially in the implementation of the outcomes at home or at the localities. And this has particular advanced the last couple of years. Why are we doing this, or how are we doing this? We mobilize our leaders to COPs, but also in between the sessions. We are creating our voice and space. We create our own home during the blue zone at the COPs, and we are making sure that we are on the official agenda, both in the negotiations but also action agenda. Those who would like to continue engage with us, you can follow our webinars. I'm sure now that you registered, you will be able to receive the further agendas. We also have our monthly bulletins for 2024. The next edition will be released this week, starting for February. We missed the January edition. And we also have our internal WhatsApp groups close to the core members of the LGMA constituency. So in case you wish to join us, please indicate your interest so that we can acknowledge you as appropriate. But be aware this is open for these kind of internal documents, shared documents, and WhatsApp groups are open for those um, uh, partners of the LGMA constituency, but not open to all interested colleagues. Unfortunately, would like to keep some sort of privacy. Um, we will go through the COP28, but we would like to remind ourselves the journey that we have been going through. We can describe it if we make the mark as 92, the Earth Summit, where the UN climate negotiations have kicked off with the adoption of the convention, and obviously the first COP in 95 and the follow up. So we are talking about the lifespan of around 30 years or so. Um, and in that regard, we can think about that whatever we finish at COP is contributing to what we have been doing over these years. But in general remarks, we can think about four phases of our engagement in this process. The first 3 years was like soul searching. We made ourselves that we are a constituency, but unlike Agenda 21, where we were able to roll out local Agenda 21s, there was not an agenda for the climate space except our own side events or our own summits. We were also very few in number. We were Climate Alliance and ICLE were the first accredited organizations. So this was at the beginning, it was at least a space was created, but it was not very effective because there was no space for us to engage. And therefore, starting from 2005, especially the U.S. Mayors Protection Agreement, U.S. Mayors Climate Protection Agreement, European Covenant of Mayors were new acknowledgements of our work. And we also have started to work on the Copenhagen process because we were hoping that there would be a new regime, climate regime. And that's why we created our local government climate roadmap, which aims for recognition, engagement, and empowerment of local governments in climate action. However, we all know about the shipwreck in Copenhagen. So a new era started, which was like the shipwreck from Copenhagen to a new era, a new thinking. The Kyoto Protocol had been improved, but also it has also been changed through the negotiations from Cancun, through the ADP negotiations, Lima Paris Action Agenda. The things that was not thinkable in the Copenhagen era was really have advanced a lot in the 6 years. And our achievement, those areas, we have created our own processes on registries, reporting platforms. We had new actors since 2005 joining us. Compact of Mayors was a result of our engagement. So all these resulted our first achievement in the local context and the UNFCCC context, the recognition of importance of all levels of governments. And then the fourth phase started. So that was 6 years, and then we have started in another 7 years of a process. This was the first era of the Paris Agreement. During this process, we were heavily involved with inside the UNFCCC with climate action agenda, but outside as well. We have developed so many new initiatives. We have enjoyed being part of Talanoa dialogues until the Glasgow, the race to zeros and commitments. And especially since Glasgow, we have been advancing rapidly so that you can see the intensity of our achievement. I'm not going to all the details. But this final phase was the first phase of the implementation of Paris Agreement. The first NDCs was in practice with all its weaknesses and strengths and lessons learned. And obviously, the Emirates, the COP28 in Dubai closed this era with the stock take. And in this space, we have made major achievements. First, we crafted the text of multi-level into the agreement in Glasgow. And in Dubai, we made it that it is an operative paragraph, that the parties are urged for multi-level action, and several initiatives will touch on this as well. So this is bringing us that it is now a new era, that is a multi-level action era, it's a climate emergency era, but it all has this 30 years of our work with different partners and different processes all converging. COP28 outcomes, in a nutshell, it is one of the most remarkable COPs. It has an ambitious negotiation document. It is called UNEA consensus, but there are several decisions which are not necessarily part of the consensus as well. But we're talking about 5 to 7 texts that are making the backbone of the consensus, from loss and damage to stock take to finance and mitigation and just working program as well, and including the Youth Climate Champion induction. There are several initiatives really remarkable from the result of the World Climate Action Summit, and we're proud that the initiative that we work together with Bloomberg and the COP28 presidency is one of the very remarkable initiatives recognized under this category, the CHAMP. There are several other initiatives which are not necessarily included in this category, but ours, the one that LGMA provided so much support, is there, which is demonstrating how much we are influencing or engaging in the decision-making process. And remarkable Troika, which was just yesterday announced as officially kicked off. This is the first time being practiced between the 3 COP presidencies. It has been in the decision text, so this is giving the presidencies even more power and responsibility so that decisions are not left outside or not left untouched. And that's exactly the type of a new way of working, so that the COP adoption of decisions is just the beginning of a process. With this new way of work, we are ensuring that implementation will also be guaranteed, especially until COP30. So how does it all relate to us? From our perspective as LGMA, we announced this as one of the most successful, if not the most successful COP ever since '92. First of all, it was ambitious. It has so many texts in the climate space that we have not been discussing, or we have not been able to insert into the official responsibilities in the COP decisions, from transition from fossil fuel, renewable energy, mobility, and this roadmap, and loss and damage, obviously. It has been the most inclusive from our perspective. The World Climate Action Summit and our LCAS inside, but not just on only these. The COP28 Open Dialogue, the presidency, the Majlis of the president, they were all innovative, bringing actors all together and giving them fair share and representativeness. The presidency also helped us a lot in terms of bringing our voices in all these spaces. And throughout the negotiations and the action agendas, we had addressed non-traditional themes. These are mainly really the core elements that are causing the climate emergency, so that we are not only anymore dealing with the results, which are the emissions and the floods and extremes, but we are now able to address root causes, like how do we deal with our nature, how do we manage our consumption, or how we approach this culture. And third, which is the most important one for us, we have made huge achievements. First of all, we have a CHAMP. We will go through it. It's endorsed by 71 nations, but it is impressive in terms of its diversity, in terms of its ambition. It is the first time nations are committing to work with local and regional governments towards COP30. It's very specific. We have the second Urban and Climate Ministerial, and we also have supported in its design once again. So both CHAMP and Urban and Climate Ministerial, we are confidently saying that these results wouldn't be achieved without input from LGMA, but obviously LGMA on its own wouldn't be able to achieve this if the presidency, if Bloomberg, if your habitat was not part of this process. So it is a fantastic example of collective action. We have official decisions. We have noted around 15 paragraphs in the global stocktake decision, global goal on adaptation, and subnational access directed to the loss and damage fund. Especially paragraph 161 of the stocktake decision is the most powerful text for us, which means the spirit of CHAMP, multi-level action, is in fact reflected to the COP outcomes. So it's not only the CHAMP endorsers, but multi-level action is a duty for every nation. But we will discuss about the differentiations as well. Um, and above all, we have proved once again the unique role that LGMA could play. We were diverse, we were impactful in terms of our mobilization, and we were complementing, we were bridging all these processes from LCAS, Local Climate Action Summit, to ministerial, from the pavilion, which is our home, to our negotiations and dialogue with the president. So this was a remarkable, in that sense, experience. Um, just if those who are interested, these are the technical um, paragraphs that we will be working on, and we will touch to this on the working group discussions as well. Um, this part of the talk presentation, next five or six slides, is more like how we approach the COP28 and how we were mobilized. As I said, we do not want to spend too much time on that, but this is just for our archives, that we are not surprised, or we were not extremely, let's say, impressed with the COP28 outcomes, because we were prepared to achieve these results. We were involved in all the processes throughout the year, from the Amazonas to the G7, from Africa to EU decision. So that this is not a this is a natural result, but obviously the presidency and our partnership and our efforts have escalated our our achievements. Obviously, we could have asked for more. We asked for more, but what we achieved is not small, and what we achieved is also giving a huge impetus to us. We demonstrated once again our power of our unity in our position paper, endorsed by so many actors. The champ is now. I'm happy to report you that the core leadership of the champ, which is the COP28 presidency and the Bloomberg Philanthropies, in collaboration with LGMA and so many other partners, are starting to warm up with the implementation phase. There are now consultations being kicked off, and we are very happy to see that the that the engagement of LGMA in this process would be strengthened, and it will be even more institutionalized. So we will touch upon this, but we would like to respect the mechanisms led by the presidents and the Bloomberg in that regard. But we are already seeing the impacts spread around the world, in so many countries have already started discussing. The second minister was really, of urban and climate minister, was a success. The report was also released very shortly in the last couple of weeks, and it also had a number of elements that are new. For example, there's an outcome statement. We have made sure the LGMA voice was visible in all the sessions, at the beginning, at the end, with national pairs, autonomous, independent. So these are the unique added value that we have put on the table, and we will be working with UN Habitat and the presidency and the high-level champions for next round, obviously. We were very happy about our pavilion. It was this space for us, which is giving us the confidence that we can get together, we can share our initiatives, and we are appreciating all the partners who contributed its materialization. We kicked off this Step Up campaign. This was a deliberate, purposeful, and a very systematic approach we followed. We waited for the results of the presidency's efforts, and then we immediately reached out to the parties so that the presidency's efforts are shared. And I think we made a very good achievement overall, all these efforts, that the parties also heard us, and they have acknowledged these paragraphs as we have asked for. Most of the documents, almost all of the documents, statements, interventions, announcements are on our homepage that you can follow up. In parallel to the global process, we have advanced on the stock takes at the local level, and we are now prepared to roll this out into the town hall COPs mode, which will also be parallel in the with the evolution of the champ and other processes as well. So that's a work in progress. So this is a refreshed let's say, who is who of the process. Uh, you are aware the country or the nation who has hosted the COP, politically or logistically, is responsible for the implementation. So the presidency is still in the hands of the Emirates, especially until the June intersessional in June in Bonn. Uh, the presidency's activities are much more effective. They have their own teams already in charge, and they can host a lot of initiatives. We will see this in the Troika discussion. So we will continue our engagement with the high-level champions, and other delegations. That we will be also following up Mayor Binay with her role as the advisory board, which is with another unique element. Now we have discussed even in last webinar that we have the presidency, who is also one of the most rapid announced presidency, and they have also received feedback from stakeholders. We will discuss about the dialogue on the gender balance with other constituencies. But the interesting thing is that they already announced that there are three leaders: presidency, president designate, high level climate champion, and officially the youth champion. Three of these official UNFCCC positions, two of them are led by female leaders. So that's again another interesting momentum. And for the first time ever, we have a parliamentarian, member of parliament, being a high level champion. And this is fantastic for us because we believe multi level action also includes representatives of legislative bodies at all levels, and in particular with our colleagues from the Globe parliamentary group, we will be working with them so that we can connect to the new high-level champion as quick as possible. We are also aware, again, a new element is that the representative in the domestic committee of COP29 presidency is also including a seat for the chair of the State Committee on City Planning, Mr. Anar Gulia. This is also important. This has not been always the practice in the past. We had experiences, especially when the Egyptian presidency, though. But this is back again because Azerbaijan will also be the host of World Urban Forum 13 in 2026. So the World Urban Forum experience will also be an opportunity for us to continue once we receive the results from Berlin. We have the Troika, as we have discussed, and we have the three intermediate meetings in addition to official intersessional. So Copenhagen ministerial, Petersburg climate dialogue again at the ministerial level, and pre-COP 29. We don't know when and where it will happen, but these are the four official but semi-official events that will be paving the way towards the success of COP29, and we will be actively engaged as LGMA in this process. We have updated our calendar or highlights of our roadmap. We are very happy for the updates from our LGMA partners in our COP29 tracker document, which is the shared document among the LGMA partners. What we have updated with some new information about the role that London Climate Week and New York City Climate Week can play, or we have updated the calendar with the G20 ministerials. Urban 20 is now announced, Mayor's Summit as well, and there are numerous agendas that we are seeing here. But this is giving us the overall picture that the second half of the year, even the last quarter, will be very busy. But especially, we will use the first half for the preparations at the UN in Bonn and the ICLE World Congress in Sao Paulo. We will also make sure the draft LGMA COP29 statement will also be announced and followed up with other events with different partners as well. We are following carefully with all the governments who are leading this G7, G20 presidency, because the discussions in G20 will be shaping the consensus agreed at the COP and other forums. And we also noticed that this year is a super year for multilateral environmental agreements, especially the Rio Conventions and the UN Environment Assembly. These events are not taking place every year, and it's not very common that every year they can converge. But this is a special year that all of them are converging, and we will also make the best use of the UN Summit of the Future in September, so that we can create the synergy with its outcome or input as well. So this was a process that we announced last webinar in January. Our priority, first of all, CHAMP implementation, but not just the CHAMP itself. It is also in connection to previous achievements like search. Where does search fit? Where and how we can improve our collaboration climate agenda, the climate action agenda. How can we make use of our partnership with NDC partnership? We're all aware the role that NDC partnership played in the NDC improvement process, and we already have worked with them in the design of the champ. So it should be a combination, and we are very happy that high-level champion Razan Al Mubarak already announced her commitment to help us to make sure this synergy. Um, Town hall COPs is a process that we would like to work that is more materialized. It definitely needs additional resources thinking, but we are confident that we can use this as an innovative model. And we will continue work on the UNFCCC process. And that brings us our working group discussion. In January, we talked about 10 working groups. Now we received inputs from our partners. The, the, the number of working groups are expanded. The context has been revised. It's correct that not all of them have announced their leaders or co-leads or partners, but it's exactly the reason why we're having these calls. Um, if I can summarize the thinking behind this, is that we are saying that the next COP29 statement or position of LGMA should be addressing all the elements of the negotiation agenda. So one group of working groups or one cluster of working groups should focus on the UNFCCC negotiations, all the decisions adopted in Dubai or before, all the topics on the table. Um, this can be grouped under several categories. The proposal at the moment is that we will continue what we have kicked off already, like adaptation group, finance group. We will continue loss and damage, but in not just the fund. Last year, we were only focusing on the funds, but now we have received already the need to address the concept of loss and damage. How is loss and damage being addressed at the local and regional level, which is in fact covered under Warsaw International mechanisms, and what is the loss and damage fund operationalization means for us, especially when we have 3 paragraphs that define subnational access, direct access. So that's why this group is slightly adjusted, and it could always have its own subgroups as well. Communication teams will continue to work. We have agreed last month, that they have to be engaged in this process since the beginning. Transparency, the integrity matters report, and the discussion between the transparency of the commitments, accountability of our tracking of our commitments, but also the efforts of the UN Secretary should also be now combined. Reporting platforms, protocols, all this should be carefully taken up further. Nature, food, culture, health. This is an area that has to merge because there are a lot of similarities in the discussion around this. There are so many decisions already in text. This was not the case before. That's why we do not have the luxury to ignore this anymore. We have never ignored, but we were never able to find ourselves inside it. Now, there are topics where we could list our inputs and we can include specific recommendations. Another group is the Action for Climate Empowerment, Public Access, Participation, Youth, Indigenous People Platform, and Gender. This category could be one point. Uh, the capacity building and technology is another very unique on its own. It has its own mechanisms, its own bodies. Just Transition Work Program is extremely important. It is just started, and in Dubai we have already provided inputs to the first ministerial. So there's a lot of stuff we can take forward. Energy and mobility. First time they have text in the COP decisions on stocktake especially. So now it's time for us to bring all what we have there. This is negotiations. And in the next slide, we'll go into the topics on the submission. So the expectation from these groups is try to formulate how we can position our priorities, our inputs, share this with the UNFCCC and the partners, and consolidate our views so that these topics are much more clarified in our position when we come to Baku. That there is a second cluster we're suggesting is more beyond the negotiation, which is much more action agenda. And that includes, first of all, the global climate action, the high-level champions. There has been a human settlements group, but it has evolved significantly since its inception. There has been changes in the breakthroughs and races. As we said, champion Razan Mubarak is committed to make sure these are all consolidated, streamlined. So the LGMA constituency, some of the partners were involved, some not. It's time to bring our potential here. Of course, these are not compulsory; these are voluntary process. So you just announce yourself so that you can be part of it, but you don't have to be there if needed, as long as you don't want to. Trump, as we said, presidency and Bloomberg philanthropies have kicked off their consultations, mainly with the partners that they work with on the way to ALCAS. We expect this next phase is not just a conference organization, but the implementation phase. So there may be new mechanisms coming on board. There may be some new partners being on board. We would wish the the partners are aware how we have supported Champ and Elkas as LGMA partners, both in this endorsement, but also in the support in on the ground. So we believe LGMA will be much strongly positioned there. Multi-level action is not just limited to Champ countries. There are so many countries who are not part of Champ, and Champ may not be also working with all the countries. So multi-level action, especially with this paragraph 161, could also have its own dynamics. Some countries do not necessarily have to be connected to the champ process. And even inside the countries, there may be some different actors. So that's why we thought a separate multi-level action group is also helpful to focus on. Town hall COPs, ICLE has been on the front line of this, but we will be more than happy to share this experience and roll it out that it's not just 25 cities anymore, but by the time we reach to Belém, annually we can make sure thousands of cities, regional governments can convene their municipal town halls, municipal parliaments, a debate on climate emergency, and feed into the champ and feed into the negotiation. And COP29 coordination, especially the agenda that you have seen. We are receiving so many invitations. We are receiving so many consultations with the presidency, and it is it will be very helpful. A couple of our core partners, expert level or politician level, could be part of this coordination group so that we can immediately react, because every LGMA partner does not have the capacity and the attention to follow all these details, because it is a full-time work for many, and it's voluntary for many of those here. So let's be realistic about our capacities. And finally, IPCC is a unique process. IPCC is an initiative of UNEP and WMO. So it's not an officially UNFCCC body, but of course there is a lot of organic relation. Inside IPCC, we have been making progress since 2016 with the decision on cities research agenda, the Edmonton conference, and since 2016 we have made sure the seventh assessment cycle will have a special report on cities. This process now is officially kicked off. According to the official structure, ICLE and C40 are the accredited organizations of IPCC. So we have made nominations, parties made nominations, academicians made nominations. So we are very happy that outside the bureau, among the 80 experts who have been involved in the scoping of this process, we have around 20 from the LGMA partners, LGMA friends. This is an important group of that can create a center of gravity in the discussion. So it is very clear we can shape the IPCC work. Obviously, it is scientific based and it will be peer reviewed. It will be following the IPCC procedures. But we are very happy that LGMA can contribute in this process. This is an example of the implementation of multi-level action. This is not just a meeting in Riga in April. The meeting in April in Riga, the scoping meeting, these experts will discuss about the structure of the report. And then they will invite lead authors, they will invite authors. The process will continue until 2027. So therefore, it is essential for us to be prepared for a a journey, so that our engagement is never weakened and it's elevated every step. So we will get back to this proposal that the partners who are involved, T40, ICLE, those who do not necessarily have to be accredited but still part of the LGMA, could be part of this working group, so that then we can collaborate with the IPCC Secretariat, UN Habitat, our research partners, so that the outcomes are really developing along the lines that we wish to see. I will not speak on this, but this is the list of submissions that is particularly very busy agenda in the first quarter until the end of March. Some of those have already been over, but some these are the points where we can always come back again. The deadline that we missed, we can always submit late submissions, but it's better that we do not miss all of them. There are some of those, so instead of we telling everyone saying that, can you just do this? We recommend the working groups take ownership of this agenda and come up with their proposals. So maybe before going to the biodiversity agenda, I give a break here. I see a lot of need for other colleagues, especially from the working group partners here, and I personally wanted them to be actively engaged in this process. So I'm giving a break now. Anyone wishes to intervene, please raise your hand, and share your comments or inputs, or you can type in the question box. Anupam Pandey, how can we join the working group? Kata, my colleague who is helping us with the moderation of this session, Kata, if you can type our mailing address lgma@icle.org, I think that will be the best way. We would like to be assuring that you are representing a network or an association of local immigrant governments. Even if you're not in the accredited to UNFCCC, we can still engage you, but we just want to be assuring that you are part of the broad constituency. Which working group covers sustainability aspect? Well, in its entirety, the result is sustainability. Anupam, I'm not sure whether if you are referring to the overall SDGs discussion, that could be a much more specific question. Danya, my colleague, who is seconded from ICLE Africa to the high-level climate champions team, she has raised one point in the chat box or the QA box. Would it not be feasible to have fewer working groups? Is the expectation of LGMA members to be part of more than one working group? Will there be enough capacity? Yes, these are all valid points and valid concerns, Danya. At the moment, as we have been kicking off this process, the usual suspects even didn't put their names, including ICLE colleagues. So I am aware we are making like a iterative process without creating this structures, without sharing this clarification. It's very hard for them to indicate their commitment. And if there is really no activity in this group, we can say that the group didn't produce any result. But I think, I believe, as we advance in the coming days and weeks, there will be a value of being focused. And we have huge partnerships. We have huge resources in terms of human capacity. There should be a mechanism to bring these intelligence and capacity to this process. So let's let's see how it will be functioning, and let's propose ideas that you have suggested to help this process to be producing results. Eva from CMR, Working Group 13, Multi-Level Action. Are we supposed to join as LGMA? These are all LGMA working groups. That nobody outside LGMA has asked us to do this. No one has asked us to come up with this proposal. It is a consolidation of all the synthesis of our work. So it's all of them are LGMA. No one else are in this group outside the LGMA. We can invite guests, partners. We can invite researchers. We can invite national governments. But theoretically, it's the LGMA partners who should be inside that. And especially, there are some countries like, or regions like European Union. It has its own mechanisms. Let's remember, European Union officially, European Commission was not able to endorse CHAMP. There are countries, around 12 European countries, but Commission has not endorsed it. Yes, we know why it was so difficult. It's not easy. And we're also aware there will be mechanism inside EU. So maybe EU process could be a bit different than champ. We don't know. Therefore, the way that, that's why there may be value of having multi-level action as a separate process, but we can always make the synergy with other groups. Yes, Susan, I think Susan from City of Bonn, I tried to respond in the sense that there are countries, let's be realistic, China, India, they have not endorsed champ yet. Maybe they will never endorse champ. It's a political decision. Does this mean that they will not implement or they're not advancing on multi-level action? Of course not. We, ICLE, UCLG, C40, the partners inside these countries, we are all working with the Chinese and Indian government or others. So that's exactly the reason. If we limit ourselves only to the champ countries, we will be missing a couple of outside. And especially paragraph 161 is binding for every nation. So there should always be a reason why we could also focus outside champ. In an ideal scenario, Susan, if we could make everyone 193 parties to the UNFCCC to endorse champ, definitely then there will definitely be no need for a second working group. Related to roadmap, there is an anonymous attendee, our colleague, I couldn't recap your name. Has there been a confirmation on the regional climate weeks? We just heard yesterday from one of our partners, there is a discussion inside UNFCCC that the regional climate week may be reduced or narrowed down. We don't know. We haven't seen the official announcement. Let's remember, this is a process by World Bank, UNDP, UNEP, and UNEP Secretariat. It's an outside process. It may be possible that this year it may have followed a different structure. Therefore, we put it as italic this time, and we will see the announcement coming from the UNFCCC. We haven't heard yet any update yet. Good. Marta from C40. I also know Claudia joined us. I would suggest let's use the next 10 minutes, especially from our partners in the LGMA who have been actively involved, so that they can reflect their views how to materialize these working groups. It doesn't have to be a prepared statement or it doesn't have to be an official statement yet, but this is an open discussion. So in the chat box, I received inputs from Marta from C40 on the working groups. Just transition work program. Yes, Marta, we discussed before. Feel free to nominate your colleagues to be providing inputs. In the COP29 tracker document, we created another box, which was not populated yet. What we have done in this topic so far. For example, just working program, just transition working program. It just kicked off in Dubai. So there's no history, long history. This is an advantage because this means that it is just at the beginning. But in Dubai, we had made at least two interventions. One, Mayor Balla from Hobokon, he was the LGMA spokesperson in the ministerial. We have its text. We can provide the link. We can share the document. And we had COP29 presence in open dialogue with Scottish government, and I was there as the LGMA. We had provided interventions there. So this is the beginning. And the submission deadline is, I think it was tomorrow. Maybe we would miss the first one, but definitely we can continue to provide inputs. So feel free to put your name to shape the agenda so that you can help others to bring on more. So that's the shared agenda. That's not the space for necessarily putting one of the networks, but it's collective. But of course, we will bring our own resources. So that there's no problem on that. Carl Wright from Commonwealth Local Government Forum and our dear partner. Carl, you have mentioned about a calendar event. Feel free to insert this into the tracker document calendar line. And if not, send it by email so that we insert this. Definitely SIDS should be a priority. And we were very happy in Dubai. Mayor Banika Baro from Kiribati was first of all, we had made sure he received support from the COP28 travel budget so that he was there for 2 full weeks. and he was able to intervene at the heads of state level. He was able to intervene at numerous ministerials and our agenda. So this is was exactly the reason why presidency has created this, that SID's voice are clearly voiced into the process. So the mechanism that we will create inside SIDS, we have partnership with local 2030 island networks. Commonwealth local government is a key partner in the Pacific and Caribbean also. Definitely we should develop this together. And there, I'd suggest you also be actively engaged in both the loss and damage and adaptation, culture, the indigenous people platform. These are the topics where we can all feed through the engagement from SITS partners. So if you don't have you don't have access to the file, send me the document and we insert it inside the file. Uh, I assume we have responded all the questions at this round, but this is open. We will be coming back if needed. Um, I would like to check, Kata, our colleagues, uh, Ingrid and Ivana, are they already connected to this line because they are already in Tashkent? No,
No,
Samarkand, Uzbekistan.
I don't see them.
We don't see them.
No.
Okay, I have their slides. Sorry. Very sorry. The last point, several updates came up in the last couple of days. First of all, uh, yesterday, Troika is announced. It has first of public meetings in Dubai, where there was this World Government Summit hosted by the Emirates, and there was a couple of sessions on climate, uh, and officially Minister of Environment from Brazil, Minister of Environment from Azerbaijan, and the COP28 presidency have come together with their champions and the UNFC Secretariat, and announced that Troika now is up and running. We will see how they will engage our initiatives or our constituents in this process, but it is important that they take this leadership. And in parallel, yesterday there was also a message from the Women and Gender constituency, which is inviting the COP29 incoming presidency to put a big priority for gender equality in the COP29 process. This was a result of the first move from the presidency, the incoming president, that the first delegation of the domestic committee was all male. And the reaction was so rightly uh, enormous to say that you cannot make such a mistake, and please correct this. And in 4 days' time, they made an additional move. They replaced or if, expanded the committee by adding female representatives. They made one more effort. There is two leaders, champion and the youth champion, are female, so that's at least also good signals. But there is a need for this to be a more constituted process, and the gender constituency drafted a letter. It was we provided inputs to this letter, but because of the short notice, we could not make sure that all the LGM partners were part of it. We did not want to violate our internal procedures, but instead, knowing that gender is an issue for all of us, I put my name as the LGMA focal point so that our solidarity with our women and gender constituencies is there, along with other constituencies. In connection to Troika, by the way, in the last couple of weeks, we have been receiving some announcement or preparation from the Secretary about initiatives called Conference of Partners or NDC 3.0. We are watching this clearly. There were some invitations to us. We were not too much entitled to spread it out. We didn't want to violate the authority of the Secretariat, but we will make sure that we will keep those uh, processes shared with our constituency, and we believe this is also strongly related to the Troika process. Um, yeah, biodiversity, as I said, currently the 14 COP14 of Convention on Microsoft is continuing. Local and regional governments are represented by ICLE, Ingrid Kotze, and Ivana. They have been advising to the COP of these negotiations for in initiatives on local and subnational. And Journey for Life is a network of cities that are offering spaces for migratory species in the urban spaces. So if any one of your LGMA partners are interested, you can join this. We are making this updates since 3 years. I think this is the third year we're doing this. And we believe our constituency, ICLE, Regions 4, Committee of the Regions, and all the others, what they have been achieving in the biodiversity negotiations can be and should be actively leading in the LGMA working group on nature, food, culture, health as well. So that's exactly the synergy we can create. There are a lot of lessons learned from their side, and there are a lot of lessons learned we can bring to the table from our side as well. Um, I think we can, because I think we still have how much? 5 or 7 minutes. We can come back to the previous discussion on the working groups. I think I would be very happy if we spend more time on that. Again, I'm checking QA and chat boxes. Um, okay, what the key roles in the working group entail, so we can cover them accordingly. Yes, this is a question that we are exposed numerous times. This is a voluntary process. Um, this is a response. This is a question addressed by Marta from C40, but I think it's in the minds of everyone. Negotiation, um, following such a complex process, there are institutions or organizations who have the luxury to hire their advocacy staff or advocacy teams. It's also possible that they may have been involved in other spaces. Um, there is therefore a benefit that we do not keep this like a closed club that is only for those who can spend staff and time and capacity for that. But we also are aware those who have these resources can be proactively advancing this agenda so that those who are just interested can come as a partner. They can contribute. The expectation from co-lead is that try to convene the LGMA colleagues regularly, depending on your capacity. Try to consolidate the topics that LGMA should raise into the submissions. Try to address topics that are missing in the document, or we have to insert, or we can offer, or if there's a call to the constituency that you prepare our own statement on our behalf, so that you can share with us, and we can agree all together that this is a way forward. We have practiced this in adaptation, in finance, in comms. So it's a couple of our colleagues step up and they say that I can spend time to coordinate the meetings, keeping the minutes and consolidating inputs and making the statement. And on behalf of LGMA, we acknowledge this. We say that this is an LGMA statement prepared by XYZ, which is the partners who lead this process, so that their leadership role is acknowledged, so that they spend time and capacity and they get the reward. They are the ones who speak when there's a workshop. They are the ones who are responsible to nominate who will be there in such workshops. So that this is a kind of practice. We have not put this in writing as a procedure. We can do this because this was not so complex in the past. Now it's so much advanced and there's so diversity. We can also put this in like 1 or 2 page, but this should not be a procedure that hinders our work. That while we focus on the implementation, we do not just keep ourselves stuck to the admin relation. But I would encourage my colleagues from FMDV, Regions 4, Committee of the Regions, under 2 coalition. And of course, these organizations are so large, and it's possible that there have some other colleagues in the same organization who have led another process, but in another team, there's another partner could be there, another representative partner there. And not everyone has to be leading everything. It's a question of, again, interest, capacity, and skills. Um, so we are happy if you would like to suggest. You can clarify how much capacity you can invest in here. What are the offers from your organization, from yourself personally? That is all possible. Once again, the the pace of getting together in one group doesn't have to be the same to the other because there are different needs and their different resources. So we do not have to expect the same level of engagement. We are trying to make sure that this is a relaxed process, that no one is excluded, but we also don't want to miss any agenda. Honestly speaking, I have been involved in this process for 15 years. I am in the UNFCCC process for the 20 plus years. I cannot follow everything on myself, and I don't have to, and I should not have to do. But if someone asks, what is the position of LGMA as the focal point, I should be able to easily go to the right person saying that, oh, there's an issue about integrity matters. Oh, we had a transparency issue. Michael Dobbs, he was helping us in drafting the report so that it is clear that I am aware who to reach to, or there is an invitation to a workshop on youth. So I know that someone has worked on youth. I can easily relate to them. In such cases, there could also be the reality that there may be only one organization or one person, but even this is enough because let's remember we also have started these from scratch. So that let's keep it as flexible. Um, as I said, we are not sharing the link to the COP29 tracker here. Um, those LGMA and UNSS Friends of Cities mailing list participants have received this link. We can share to the others if they express their interest or they are part of that, but they haven't received. For example, he's a member of one organization, she's a member of a partner organization. The name of the organization is there, but the person that is involved in this topic has never been receiving our updates in the mails. Please talk to your colleague who is following the LGMA process. Send us your email. We include you in the mailing group, and you have access to this, and that your partners are also aware that such a person is joining this process from your network. Um, Nupur is also suggesting a short mail on the working groups that can be shared. Search our colleagues. We have shared this in the LGMA mailing list, Nupur. I'm not sure whether you have received this. We will repeat it again, and we will encourage active participation. Thanks for your suggestion, and we will follow accordingly. Okay. Uh, Canterbury, Balas Subramaniam Chandromahan also has SDG7, SDG7 partnerships. Um, there was a confusion, I think, in the response to that question. Maybe we follow up. Our colleague from Canterbury, maybe you can also reach to us on email so that we clarify exactly your proposal. Um, any points from our colleagues, especially who are actively involved in working groups? I see a number of you, but I don't want to put you on fire. Um, it may be possible that you would rather be listening only, but I encourage all of you to be sharing your experience, lessons learned. But obviously, this can also come later on. We do not have to finish it now. But I'm happy that now we are, I assume, I hope we are more clear and that we can advance on that. So definitely we will continue to keep each other involved. There will be more progress coming up. With this in mind, we are in the last 1 minute of our time reserved for us today. I don't see any hands raised as far as I can track. And the chat box says that all questions are answered. Eva, thank you for your feedback that you are satisfied with the responses and feel free to come up with more clarification. There's some more points. Pablo from UCLG is thanking us. Thank you, Pablo. Carlos from FMDV. He has sent this to only to the panelists. That's why you do not read this. But let me just have a look at it. Exactly. Carlos is saying that yes, Carlos is a long-term LGMA freaks. We are enjoying commitment and skills of Carlos on behalf of FMDB, especially in the finance space. He has been leading a lot of our work in the Marrakesh partnership as well. So he's and together with Ikle Esther, Carlos is leading the finance working group. And so far, actually, in the if you go to the the tracker, they have already prepared all the recommended information, the previous achievements, the contact persons. So the finance working group has delivered the best experience or the best practice on how you can fill this form. So that could be a very good practice, and I appreciate your commitment, Carlos, Esther, and Joim from ICLE. So they are saying that they will be organizing content operating modalities little by little based on what we defined as key components, so that these kind of partners, of course, their work is extremely helpful for us so that we can learn from their experience. I know Ariel is also working with her comms colleagues. I know our colleagues, Committee of the Regions Under 2 and Regions 4 have really enjoyed a lot with their leadership in the adaptation working group. So maybe we will be encouraging them to come up with more concrete recommendations how to lead this processes. And as LGMA focal point, we personally and the institution like ICLE will be probably default in all of those. Even if our names are not there, we will always be helping you so that we can make the connection of your work. So don't feel that you will be left alone. Uh, or in that regard, this is really let's say a new era of a new culture of our working collectively, and the experience and the achievements we had in COP, we really want to expand and advance further. I think it's time for us to conclude today's round. We have covered a lot, and we are already seeing colleagues leaving. Everybody's busy with their own agendas, but I appreciate your time and commitment, and we will follow up in more with more updates. And in the meantime, feel free to reach us, lgma@icle.org, as the first contact point, but also the mailing list as well, and the tracker is our source of information. Thank you, and have a nice day, evening, and take care.